I, Kristine Elrod, is Harmony Elementary's Teacher of the Year. This is from the mouth of Vickens. She's the best teacher I've ever had. She treats us real good. Miss Elrod loves the gifts her students give her. She's taught me stuff I don't know. Mrs. Elrod is always there to help you. She is nice and always smiling. Mrs. Elrod helps me to be the best me I can be. Her coworkers believe Chrissy was called to teach so that she could touch the lives of the students and the adults she works with. She is such a blessing to her students and her coworkers. Chrissy is dedicated to all aspects of being an effective teacher, from knowledge of the curriculum and current trends in education to caring for the personal and emotional needs of her students. Chrissy teaches from the heart and really believes in forming a personal bond with her students. She is so dedicated to her students. She is loving and cares about each one. She's a light for all of us to follow. I know you said one sentence, but I couldn't help it. In her words, I'm fulfilling my purpose in life to educate and care for children. My students are cared for and accepted. My students know that everyone has value and something valuable to contribute to our community of learners. Enabling children to see their self-worth and intelligence is my greatest accomplishment as an educator. This happens in the small moments that make a significant impact in the lives of my students. These moments keep me going as a teacher. Some of these moments drift away sweetly and others remain fixed. One such moment occurred when one of the most troubled boys in the school said to me, "Mrs. Elrod, you really like me, don't you?" "My mom doesn't even like me." That's why she left. Moments like these can break my heart to its very core, but they also encourage me and that I know I have succeeded with my intended message to my students. Yes, I care. And yes, I do like you, no matter what. Every day as an educator, I'm afforded small moments to make a difference in my students' lives. The thrill of the light bulb moment, seeing a student take a risk in their learning, or watching a troubled student begin to treat others with kindness and consideration is a gift. I'm blessed to be part of these moments. I have answered my call and received many rewards daily. I am truly blessed to call myself an educator. The decisions I make about how and why I teach must be based on love. Love is an essential component of every classroom. I've read many books about teaching methods and strategies. Time and time again, educational research points out that love is one of the most effective things a teacher can do in his or her classroom. Through the years, I've seen love work many miracles in my classroom. Love can be shown to one's students in many different ways. Praising a student with problematic behavior for every tiny thing he or she does correctly, conversing with a student one-on-one, differentiating instruction is love, calling parents is love, grading papers until you feel your eyeballs are crossing in your very head is love, smiling is love, teaching is based on love. When you have love for your students and your profession, you will enjoy your students. Your students know when they are loved. The love of children is the primary reason I decided to become an educator. I enjoy hearing their stories, seeing their smiles when something excites them or pleases them, and listening to their questions. I enjoy taking precious time to build relationships with them by getting to know them as individuals. By getting to know my students, I am opening up pathways to reach their individual needs as learners. It is my dearest wish to fulfill the learning needs of all students who enter through my classroom door. I desire for my students to learn, but more importantly, I want them to feel respected and cared for as individuals. Teachers who care about their students will not give up on them. In my words, when Kristine Elrod made the decision to become a teacher, it had far-reaching effects on current generations, even those yet unborn. Her example, her actions, and yes, even her decision to become a teacher is literally changing the world not only through her students, but also through her co-workers. Kristine Elrod has faith. She believes in a future she does not see. She sees a future as she believes, and it is amazing. She believes that circumstances are weapons of the wise, and she's not afraid to veer from her lesson plans when that teachable moment arises. Chrissy believes that challenges are gifts, opportunities from which to learn. Her mind lives in the solutions of the future and does not dwell in the problems of the past. Her thoughts are constructive, never destructive, and she passes this mindset onto all of the Harmony community. Christy's hope, passion, and vision for her future drive her. Her passion is a product of her genuine heart. Passion is what helps her carry out her dreams. When she lays her head down at night, I know that she is happily exhausted because she knows that she has done everything in her power to move not only the mountains in her path, but also of those of her students and co-workers. And these are the reasons why Kristine Elrod is our teacher of the year.
If a dream is close to your heart and imagination is applied to those things close at hand, everything is still possible. For Deanna Edwards, the dream that was close to her heart was to become a teacher. Deanna looked at her mother and saw a role model for good teaching. She looked at her father and saw a role model for hard work and perseverance. And she looked at her brother and saw a role model for what a child can become with hard work. To help her achieve her dream, she attended Reinhardt University and received a bachelor's degree in early childhood education with an addition of a grade endorsement. In 2010, because she's so dedicated to children, she added a special ed endorsement to her certificate. In 2011, she completed her master's degree in early childhood and then went on in 2012 to earn a specialist degree from Piedmont in teacher leadership. She is a member of my school improvement team and leadership team and an active member of our Striving Reader grant team. Deanna is proud to be native of Pickens County and a product of the Pickens County school system. Hill City is equally proud that she has worked in our school for the past 6 years, impacting the lives of our kindergarten students. I've had the honor and privilege of supervising this remarkable young woman through her time at Hill City Elementary. When I enter her classroom, I'm always struck by the warmth, kindness, patience, and exemplary teaching that's taking place every day. Deanna looks at every child and she never bemoans that a child can achieve, but says, I know I can do something to help them achieve. She accepts every child in her classroom with love and the calm assurance that they can and will blossom and learn while under her watchful eye and tender care. Deanna's first classroom are now fifth graders at Hill City Elementary. Rather than talk to the children she's teaching today, I wanted to see what kind of impact these fifth graders still had from this teacher that they had as a young beginning teacher 6 years ago. Here are some things that they said that impressed and touched them when I talked to them. I was scared and you held my hand and I learned to not be afraid. Learning in school can be fun. You can be tough, but then you always turn it into something amazing. Say you're sorry when you hurt somebody. Put the things back where you found them. And you made school a happy place and taught us all the basics. Taking naps is awesome, and I wish we still could. Don't be afraid to wonder why and ask questions. And we had a fifth grade student today that this one impacted me the most. I wouldn't be the student I am today if I had not been in the kindergarten class. Ms. Edwards, you may never have the proof of your importance, but you are more important than you think. There are always those who couldn't do without you, as was illustrated by the words and thoughts of your first kindergarten. These kindergarten students ask that I take their picture today and present it to Ms. Edwards as her first kindergarten class. I am so proud and honored to have the privilege of presenting to you the Hill City Elementary Teacher of the Year, Ms. Deanna Edwards.
Jasper Elementary, Dr. Wilson.
Jasper Elementary School's Teacher of the Year is Ms. Robyn. Back at the beginning of the year, the superintendent asked principals, what does an effective teacher mean to us? An effective teacher is a teacher that can create dreams in all students, but may be the only hope for some students. And that's Robyn. Robyn with her tonight has her husband Paul, daughters Lauren and Sarah, Mother Ruth Waddell, and sister and brother-in-law, Kathy and Jimmy Carter. I was looking for something to say about Robyn, and I came across Dr. Frank Turner, and he had written The Power of Teaching. And when I read that, I knew that that was exactly Robyn. And she could have wrote the exact words, and I'd like to share some of that with you. He said, I feel sometimes powerless and small, overwhelmed and engulfed in thoughts and feelings that perhaps what I am doing is insignificant, and that my life's pursuit, my teaching, is frugal. And I say, who am I to change the world? Who am I to think that I may make a difference? And then I reflect on the young people under my charge. And I think about my role and about what power, if any, I have. I have the ability to think and to plan and then to implement, to select from my repertoire of skills the one best skill suited for my purpose, and yet still be apt to adapt myself to the needs with the dexterity of an artist to my students. Most adults would be fortunate to perhaps last one day overseeing a room full of kids. My orchestration makes enlightened music, the chaotic din that goes on inside. I guess you could say that this is power. I have the power. I have the vigor to motivate, the fullness to laugh, the courage to control. I have the power to uplift and create. When I am red hot, the intensity to inspire. I can form my students into lines or circles, squares or triangles. And with just one look, I can let a student know that everything is well with the world, and that he or she has a perfect right to aim for the very top of it all. I can use my hands turned up to lift them up, turned down to keep them down. I have the power to lead them to places that they did not know existed, to build them up when society tears them down, to catapult them higher than I myself will ever achieve, and to push them gently but surely into the unknown, painting for them in the broad brush strokes a future I can never hope to see. I have an awesome power. If I succeed, I pass the knowledge about what is important to the next generation. And because their world will be better for my labor, mine is an important service to a just cause. Mine is a present power and a future power. If I can reach the children of today, I can touch the children of tomorrow. Mine is a giving power. And in giving my gift, I receive the greatest power. The power to teach my students to learn how to learn. And when the last day comes and it's time for us to part our ways, we say our goodbyes and we separate. After that, there's a sadness, a certain contentment that I'm sure only teachers feel. It is a happiness that comes from knowing that a part of us will live forever. They'll actually thrive inside each of the individuals who sat across the desk and called us teacher. Even on a down day, when I'm feeling puny and insignificant, I try very hard to remember that all it takes is one person. Just one person to make a difference in their lives. And there's no reason in the world that that one person cannot be and should not be me. I can make a difference. That is my power. That is the power to teach. Robyn Pickens has that power. She has the power to teach, and she understands it. She stated that on one of her questions on what motivates her, she said that's easy, my students. I believe that I have the greatest job in the whole world. I not only teach children math and language arts, I get to experience their lives and my students every day. And there's nothing better than walking down the hall and listening and hearing them laugh and learn. I have the best job ever, loving children. And her greatest surprise about teaching is she said, I guess the biggest surprise is how much I actually love my students. Teaching is a hard profession, and most people have no idea how hard it really is. I get emotionally involved in my students' lives. Some think that's wrong, but that's just my way. When students hurt, I hurt. When my students succeed, I succeed. I don't teach because I get out for 2 weeks at Christmas and take summers off. I teach because I get to touch the lives of children. And hopefully these precious children take something away from the love I give them. Actually, I know they do. The funny thing is, I don't just touch their lives, they touch mine. Robyn understands the power of teaching, and we're very grateful and thankful that she's Jasper Elementary School's Teacher of the Year. Robyn.
Tate Elementary, Dr. Marshall.
Teacher of the Year honorees and their families, members of the board, Superintendent Gary, honored guests, and my fellow colleagues. Tate Elementary's Teacher of the Year, Mallory Childers, dreamed at an early age that she would grow up and become a teacher. Her Christmas wish list to Santa didn't include things that you might expect like dolls and toys, but rather the unexpected, items from the school box. And like many of us who also dreamed of someday becoming a teacher, she would play school in a pretend classroom using old textbooks and workbooks, along with items from the school box, as she pretended to teach her students. But that's where the similarities end, because while most of us were lining our dolls and our stuffed animals as our students, Mallory's students were her cats. Okay. Mallory's a Pickens High School graduate, and while a student there, her passion for teaching veered down a slightly different road when she had the experience of working with special needs students through the Partners Club, classroom observations in special education classrooms, and friendships that she developed with several special needs individuals. As she describes it, she felt an extreme tug on her heart for special needs individuals and a strong urge to make working with that amazing population her lifelong goal. She pursued her goal by graduating summa cum laude from Reinhardt University with a Bachelor of Science degree in Early Childhood Education, a teaching certification in both early childhood and special ed, and a reading endorsement. Mallory was also chosen to be the student speaker at a Reinhardt commencement ceremony. Recently, Mallory was invited back to Reinhardt to speak with a class of pre-service teachers about the job hunt and teaching in the real world. At the end of Mallory's presentation, the professor asked one of the students to come to the front of the room and share an experience. The student was presently working at his local dentist office, and he recently asked one of her young patients about her school life, what grade she was in, and how she liked her school and her teachers. The little girl said that she attended Tate Elementary and that Ms. Mallory was one of her teachers. The little girl continued by saying that Ms. Mallory is a teacher who helps me. Before Ms. Mallory started working with me, I was frustrated and violent, but Ms. Mallory helped me to really understand my work. As a strong believer in the concept of wayside teaching, Mallory recognized that her students should be taught more than just what is in the required curriculum, and that teaching and learning are not limited to the inside of 4 classroom walls. She takes time to get to know her students and becomes interested in their lives by attending her students' ball games, performances, and competitions. She works hard to get to know all of her students personally and let them know that she truly cares about them and their lives. In addition to spending many hours of her time at Tate Elementary, Mallory still finds time to pursue her passion for working with children and youth at First Baptist Church of Jasper, where she's in her 4th year as one of the choir directors of the Music Makers, the 1st through 3rd grade choir. She's also participated in the church's yearly youth mission trip since 2001 and is a member of the Jasper Lions Club. Mallory is married to Patton Childers. She's the daughter of Lou and Tracy Chastain and daughter-in-law Patton and Debbie Childers. Mallory's philosophy about working with her special education students can best be described in the words of Chaim Genot. If we treat people as they are, we make them worse. If we treat people as they ought to be, we help them become what they were capable of becoming. It is my distinct honor to present to you someone who lives these words daily in our school. Please join me in saluting Tate Elementary's Teacher of the Year, Mallory Childers.
School, Mr. Howell.
Good evening. It's my privilege to introduce our Teacher of the Year, Jasper Middle School, Mr. Jesse Scott. He holds a BS degree in English Education from Kennesaw State University and a Master's of Education degree in Instructional Technology from Georgia Southern University. He currently attends Trinity Church in Marble Hill, where he's heavily involved with the technology and media team there. Since Mr. Scott walks onto our campus in his current capacity, he's managed to inspire many of our staff members and students alike with his willingness to serve others. He possesses a true servant attitude. In his former role as an English teacher at Pickens High School, Mr. Scott always had a high percentage of his students meet or exceed standards on state-mandated end-of-course tests. He also coached track and cross-country at PHS, where he had teams and individuals go on and compete in state championships. Several of his top athletes have moved up to compete on the collegiate level as well. Under Mr. Scott's direction at Jasper Middle School, the cross-country team has grown to 45 runners, the largest program that we have seen at the school. And I'll also iterate, we had a huge banquet in this hall with his team, a great turnout. And it's his attitude and certainly his professionalism that brought all those together. Mr. Scott himself competed on a cross-country and track scholarship for Berry College, where he competed annually in the NAIA National Cross Country Championship. Mr. Scott's previous work includes serving as a youth ministry intern and music teams coach at Perimeter Church in Johns Creek, Georgia, a youth pastor and music director at Grace Baptist Church in Duluth, and a drama and guitar instructor at Masters Academy of Fine Arts in Marietta, Georgia. If you ever have a question about technology, Mr. Scott is certainly your go-to person. I thought I was a computer geek until I met Mr. Scott. I'm certainly humbled with his natural affinity towards the microchip. Some of you here may speak English, Spanish, and maybe a little French, but Mr. Scott speaks BASIC, JavaScript, Pascal, Fortran, COBOL, Cold Fusion, Perl, PHP, and Ruby. If you have no idea what I just said, you might not be a computer geek. While teaching technology at Jasper Middle School, Mr. Scott started a program of teacher instructional technology support and engaged students in learning to use computer code through a program called Code Academy. And he has middle school students creating their own websites. Mr. Scott has streamlined the organization and use of our 5 computer labs and continues to serve as a primary consultant for future instructional technology enhancements at our school. Much of Mr. Scott's planning period is spent helping other teachers integrate the use of technology within their classes while providing support for software and apps research in the classroom. I asked Mr. Scott, what motivates you to be at the top of your profession? He stated that his primary motivation is his personal faith. Mr. Scott states, there is a lot in the Bible about the responsibility that comes with being a teacher. There's also a lot there about doing everything as if you're doing it for God. Also, the kids motivate me to be at the top of what I do. I want them to be successful, and I know that if I give teaching and coaching my all, they are going to be better off for it, unquote. As you can imagine, Mr. Scott has set personal and professional goals in his life as well. He states, at some point, I'd like to work towards a leadership role in school technology within a school, college, or system. I'm very passionate about helping teachers and students with technology. So I think this would be a natural transition at some point, unquote. When I ask the question, what inspires you, Mr. Scott has this to say, and I quote, as a devout Christian, I'm most inspired by Jesus. I'm also inspired daily by the numbers of teachers who have been doing so very well at this job for over 15 years or more. I hope that I can continue to love kids and teaching as much as some of these veteran educators have done, unquote. The JMS website recently received a full code rewrite and redesign at the hands of Mr. Scott. I've heard Superintendent Perry state several times how much she enjoys the look and functionality of the website. It always pays to have a teacher whose work impresses the superintendent. Thank you very much. Mr. Scott is admired and appreciated by the entire faculty at JMS. He's a dependable and dedicated professional whose talent continues to foster the professional growth of our staff members and contributes to the improvement of our instructional programs. As a last word, and the most important, Mr. Scott's thankful to his wife Tabitha, who's here tonight, whose love and support stay strong. He quotes, "It certainly isn't easy being the spouse of an educator." My wife would agree with that also. Please join me in congratulating our Jasper Middle School Teacher of the Year, Mr. Jesse Scott.
Pickens County Mail, Dr. Lemieux.
Good evening. It's a great honor that I present Pickens County Middle School Teacher of the Year, Dr. Rosemary Nelson. Dr. Nelson is a proud mother of 3 children, Fallon, Alexis, and Dylan. And Alexis and Dylan are here today. We're very appreciative they're here to support their mom. She's also enamored with 2 grandsons, Tristan and Cole. She has a Bachelor of Science degree in accounting from St. Petersburg College in New Jersey, a master's degree in business management from Mercer University in Atlanta, our teaching certificates from Berry College in Rome, Georgia, and her educational specialist and doctorate degree in teacher leadership are from Walden University. Dr. Nelson has played an instrumental role at Pickens County Middle School. She has worked as a PCMS teacher for the past 10 years. Prior to her work as a middle school teacher, Dr. Nelson worked for 5 years as an elementary school teacher at Pine Log Elementary in Bartow County. She has demonstrated tremendous versatility as a middle school teacher and teaching all 4 academic areas during her teaching tenure at PCMS. She is definitely a human learning sponge, and she is an avid reader, and I can testify to that. To give you an example, we went to a conference in Savannah, Georgia Middle School Conference, and there were a group of us, and when we started to leave, I bought a couple of books. One of them was, if you remember, Dr. Nelson, was Feed the Teachers or They'll Eat the Children. And I was so anxious to read this book, and Dr. Nelson saw that I had it. She said, "Do you mind if I just take a look at that on the way back?" And from Savannah to Atlanta, she read the whole book and was able to comment on it for me. And so I know she's an avid reader, and she's very good at it. PCMS faculty thought so much of her ability as a teacher that they voted her this year as our Teacher of the Year for 2013-2014 school year. Some of her teaching colleagues have the following statements of admiration about Dr. Nelson. Rose sets an excellent example for her students. She shows up every day with a positive attitude, does her best, is a lifelong learner. She arrives early, stays late, and volunteers first. She's willing to help anyone with anything. I could not be happier to work with her. Second colleague said, Rose is one of the best teachers to work with because she does a great job working with other teachers. She's always willing to help out and lead when the team needs her. She's always the first to volunteer and always puts her students first. A third teacher said, Rose is not only an outstanding teacher, she's an amazing person to be around and have as a friend. No matter what life brings to her table, she deals with integrity and with a lot of spirit. She never misses a day of school and always goes the extra mile to help anyone, student or friend. Rose is an exceptional person and very deserving of the title of Teacher of the Year. And I've got to make a real quick side comment. Last year, if y'all remember, the school board and our former superintendent, Dr. Jasper, put a challenge to the faculty about our attendance. And our 8th grade faculty went a step further. They challenged themselves to see who would have the best attendance. And our Canadian friend, Mr. Baker, who's a teacher at our school, who's quite a character, jokingly told the other 8th grade teachers that, hey, what's the big deal? Just show up for work. And so there was a challenge, and the gauntlet was thrown down. Now, unfortunately for Mr. Baker, because he's not a U.S. citizen, he's a Canadian citizen, he had to go in for one day to deal with the U.S. immigration. And unfortunately, he lost that bet to Dr. Nelson and 0 absences. Likewise, some of Dr. Nelson's students have remarked the following statements of admiration. She is very nice and sweet. She teaches everything well. Second student writes, she's a strong person who gets up every morning, sick or not, to help give us 8th graders an education. I've got a feeling you've talked to that group before about coming to school. Third student says, I believe that Dr. Nelson has been one of the best teachers I've ever had. She helps you learn all of the standards that are needed to be taught. Final student said, Dr. Nelson is an amazing teacher. She teaches so that everybody can understand. She leaves nobody behind, and she makes sure that everybody knows what she says. I've had a hard time, but she always makes sure that I understand the material. She is sweet and never mean. She keeps the classroom quiet so we can learn. Dr. Nelson has demonstrated her outstanding teacher leadership over the years by serving on the PCMS Effective Behavior and Instruction Support EBIS team, also known as our discipline team. She's been a member of the PCMS Faculty Advisory Council. She's currently on the PCMS School Advisory Council. She's a co-chair of the Striving Readers Grant that we're working on. She also has volunteer time to help in other school-related activities and clubs such as the Reading Bowl team as an advisor, cross-country team as a coach, and cheer squad team as a coach. And she's also very involved in the Pickens County Reading Council, which she currently serves as the president of the Pickens County Reading Council. In conclusion, Dr. Nelson stated that her fondest memories at PCMS has been the times that she has had the opportunity to recognize student academic excellence each year during our PCMS Honors Day Assembly on the last day of the year. The PCMS administration and staff would like to congratulate Dr. Nelson for her special recognition as our Teacher of the Year.
Pickens High School, Mr. McDonald.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to be able to stand up here next to this young man and his daughter. This is Mr. Todd Garrett, our Pickens High School Teacher of the Year. A little bit about Todd. Todd received his Bachelor of Science degree from Tennessee Tech in 2006. Master of Science degree in Kinesiology from Georgia Southern in 2009. His Educational Specialist degree in Piedmont 2012 in Teaching and Learning. Currently, Todd teaches ninth grade English, ninth grade honors English, and communication skills. Todd coached volleyball for 6 of the 7 years that he's been teaching. All 7 years have been at PHS. He was a soccer coach for 2 years. Currently serves as voice of the Dragons. If you come to our home games, you know that he's our voice of the Dragons at our basketball games. He's also the voice of the Dragons at PHS pep rally. So if you happen to come to a pep rally, you see that he's on the floor getting everybody fired up for our pep rally when we have it. I agree. Thank you. He's been a close sponsor for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes for the past 4 years, which is by far the largest club at Pickens High School, with attendance as high as 500 to 600 students on occasion on any given club day. His influence as sponsor of FCA has impacted the spiritual lives of students over the past 4 years in ways that none of us will ever know. He's currently the youth minister at his church back in Copper Hill, Tennessee, where he drives back and forth an hour every day to get to work. He's done so for the past 7 years without complaints, by the way. And he is, like I said, youth minister at the First United Methodist Church in Copper Hill. Mr. Garrett was instrumental in starting the Hunger Games at Pickens High School, which is a cross-curricular event that has allowed students of all different disciplines the opportunity to participate in an obstacle course format, which they use problem-solving skills, physical skills, linguistic skills, and engineering skills to battle through nonviolent games. These games, which plan on focusing this year on community service, have instilled a renewed interest in reading throughout the school. As a result of these games, more students than ever are excited about discovering new books. I got a few of Todd's students to write a few quotes about him, and I got some picked out. I can't write them all because there were too many, and I've got a 5-minute window to get all this in, so I need to speak fast. These are some of the quotes of some of his nice ratings that he currently has. It says, Mr. Garrett, this is one quote from the student, Mr. Garrett has inspired me in writing. I never liked language until Mr. Garrett made my outlook on everything better. He makes me feel like I'm needed every day in his class. He makes my day. If on my worst days, he makes life a lot better. Another quote, Mr. Garrett is the best teacher I've ever had. He has a passion about teaching I have rarely seen in other teachers. I am so thankful that he has been my teacher this year, and I wish every other student had. Another student goes on to say, Mr. Garrett is a man of wisdom. He is smart, intelligent, nice, and funny. He's also easygoing and an inspirational teacher. I was crying on the first day of school because I was stressed about finding my classes. But when I got to his class, I laughed for the first time that day because it was so funny. He is also really caring and understanding. One more quote from a student in his class. Mr. Garrett is actually the most amazing teacher I've ever had. His class is something I wait all day to get into sometimes. He's the only reason I go to school. His class has brought me to tears more than once. He really connects to me, and I've never learned more in class. He's truly funny and inspiring. I cannot even say how much I've learned. I love him almost like family. He is an amazing teacher. And I know many of you know Mr. Garrett. You know Mr. Garrett. I can sit here and talk and brag about how good he is. But a lot of you already know that. He is an amazing teacher. Every year when we have our Teacher of the Year voting, he's always at the top. He's always in the top 2 or 3 every year. He could be our Teacher of the Year just about every year. I'm going to conclude by saying this. One of my favorite quotes is, "Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care." Well, this man cares, and he also knows a lot too. But he really does care, and that's the bottom line with him. He cares about his students. And there's not enough good that I can say about Mr. Garrett. I'm just privileged to be his principal and be able to stand here and introduce him to you as our teacher.
Touching, hasn't it? It's just unbelievable. We're down to one bag. Excellence in teaching has been described as both a science and an art. And Rick, I agree with you. I believe it is a calling as well. I believe that great teachers are truly a special gift from God. What about you? You know, research supports 3 characteristics that are evident, and I think we've heard it tonight, in outstanding teachers. They have a tremendous passion for teaching. Haven't you seen it tonight? They hold high expectations for excellence in student achievement. They connect especially well with their students. Many call it love. They love their students. All of our Teachers of the Year representatives could easily have been selected as the Pickens County Teacher of the Year, and I know you agree. I understand, judges, that you had a very, very difficult task choosing only one. I don't know how you did it. We heard from our principals, our Teachers of the Year are outstanding teachers. They do an exemplary job. Let's stand and give them a round of applause. You are so very deserving of that. On behalf of the children, of our children, please allow me to say, thank you so much for caring about them. Thank you so much for the hard work that you do each and every day. And now we're down to naming our county Teacher of the Year. I'd like to hear a drum roll. We have one person. So y'all, you come here on this roll. I'm opening this one. So say the tissue. Whoever gets this is going to want the tissue back. This is exciting. To honor your commitment to excellence in education, the Pickens County Teacher of the Year will be receiving this beautiful award along with a $1,000 check
from the Pickens County Board of Education. The 2014 Teacher of the Year for Pickens County Schools goes to Robyn Pitkins. Congratulations on behalf of everybody. No one said anything, but Robyn, would you like to say anything? Or can you talk?
Sorry, just give me a second. Most of you, or a lot of you here know me, know that I can't help but cry. That's just how I am. I feel like I'm Teacher of the Year every day when I walk down the halls of my school. It's amazing. I thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Garrett. You brought something to Pickens County that's very special. I don't know you well, but you really have. Thank you. You're sweet. I stand up here for a long time. Thank you, Dr. Wilson. You have brought such a warmth to our school that we needed, and I really appreciate that. I wouldn't be here without you. The board members, I don't know, a perfect example of our board members. I saw a teacher teach the smart board the other day, and I got so excited. I thought my kids were going to it was just an exciting thing. So I got on my phone and I texted the board members and said, I have to have one of these. Well, the next day, what happens? A board member shows up in my classroom to see what we're talking about. That's what it's all about right there. So I do expect my smart board. Whenever you're ready. My family, of course. I couldn't be the person that I am today without my family. My sister and Judy, you're amazing. Thank you. My sweet husband who puts up with me because I do this crying business quite often. My precious, precious two daughters that you just make me a better person. And I thank you for that. And my mom, thank you for everything. I wouldn't be the person I am today without you. I couldn't love my kids the way I love them without the love you've given me. And I thank you for that. There's so many, thank you for the committee. I had so much fun in that interview. I don't think I was supposed to have that much fun, but it was a lot of fun. We had a good time. And I very much appreciate this. There's a million people I could thank. The people at the central office are so amazing. Y'all are just, yeah, you really are. And my kids, I have parents actually in the room right now, and thank you for having amazing kids, because that's what this is all about. This isn't about me. I thank God, of course, that He let me find what I'm supposed to do, because I'm supposed to be a teacher, and I will be the best teacher that I possibly can be. And the minute I stop loving the kids, I won't be one anymore, and that's a promise. But thank you all. I'm probably forgetting people, but thank you, thank you. This is very sweet and special. Thank you. I love you.
Ms. Lowe, if you don't mind, we're going to close this out.
Well, I had this really long speech laid out, and my daughter told me that nobody's going to listen to me at the end of this meeting anyway. So I asked her, coming from a 7-year-old, I said, I want to know what you think makes a good teacher. And she sat there and named off so many of the things that everybody talked about. And she was saying that She just wanted a teacher that would hug her when she walked down the hall, that would listen to her. And we have so many of those teachers. And I know I'm a little bit biased because I'm going to have one happy boy when I go home and tell him that Miss Pitkins is the teacher of the year. And he has had such great time in class, and there's so much that he has learned this year, from the courthouse episode and doing the math video. And if you guys don't know what all was going on at Jasper Elementary, go visit and find out, because it is astounding. If I could write a check for a smart board, I would write a check for a smart board and have it in your classroom. I mean, it is just, it's unreal. And we have such good teachers in Pickens County. I am proud to say that I have children that are going here and that are going to graduate from here, and to be a part of it.